Welcome to FemFlex Friday. I'm Linda Murray, along with my co-host, Alina Popa, and we have a special guest in the house, world champion. She is Miss Olympia Fitness. She won that title in 1998, and a pioneer in both fitness and figure. Welcome, Monica Brant.
Goodness, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Monica.
I'm so excited to be here.
You know, for me, gosh, I mean, our stories, our history, we started on this journey, been on this journey a long time, and it's just amazing because when I think of Monica Brant, I have to be honest, I think of the uncrowned Miss Olympia figure. Champion, I really do. Your history, your record is amazing. Competed in the very first Olympia Fitness competition, then went on to win and take home that title in 1998. You also competed in the first figure Olympia. So you guys get that? She was in the first Fitness Olympia, the first Figure Olympia.
That's quite a record.
It's quite a record.
And Linda, I have to tell you, Miss Monica Brant over here, I was in Romania at that time. I think I started my journey into bodybuilding in 98. That was the year you first got your figure title, right? Fitness title.
Yes.
And everybody knew about you. Like, you were literally an international icon of fitness in the industry. So for me to stay here right next to you now and be able to interview you, knowing that, you know, I was flipping through those magazines and I was admiring your body, wishing to get to that level, you know, it is tremendous. So
I'm very honored, and I feel like I'm just tearing up right now. You know, sometimes you feel so far from that part of your life sometimes, and it's fun to, I mean, I'm far but not far, I guess.
And the reason we know, I mean, and what Alina's saying is you secured the cover of Muscle and Fitness before competing as a pro. So why don't you tell us, I mean, and you've been on over 100 magazine covers. And still on covers, and we'll talk about that.
Sure.
So just tell us about like the beginning and and your brand and being discovered and getting that first cover because you know.
Right. Well, there's so many fun pieces to that puzzle, right? So I don't know how far back to go, but you know, I grew up country girl, knew nothing about bodybuilding, very athletic though, track, volleyball, water skiing, riding horses, showing horses, and all those country girl. Like, I grew up with my brother and all the guys, riding a little dirt bike, riding my horses, and I always competed in something growing up. You know, school athletics, track was a really big thing for me, and then horses. And so when my late teens, I started kind of needing something to compete in. I found through going into a gym, and I know you and I had some fun little story about that, but I won't go there yet. Going into a gym, I had a guy that was kind of seeing, he was a trainer, and I'd never been in a gym. He brought me into the gym, started teaching me about working out. There was a magazine, probably a Muscle Mag, I think, magazine, potentially. And there was a beautiful woman in there, had won a fitness competition, because fitness started about 1986. So this is 1991.
Okay.
So not very far since it started, right?
Okay.
And very few organizations had fitness. But this was a Wally Boyko Fitness Fitness USA, and the woman that won was Marla Duncan. Do you remember her?
Yes, I remember Marla Duncan.
Yeah.
And I remember
Marla Duncan
tearing out her picture of the magazine and putting it on my wall. Like, I'm just curious about this, and I was intrigued, and so that was in 1991, and I ordered the VHS tape from the competition. Remember VHS tapes?
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do remember
And
VHS.
I invited my family over when I got that tape in the mail. I invited my family to come watch it with me, and I said I wanted to do this competition because it looked like something I could do.
Did
And
you
I
have
just-
any gymnastic skills at that time?
I was self-taught gymnastics at 14 off my trampoline because I wanted to try out for cheerleader, which I never did because my mom says you can do cheerleader and you can do horses. You can't do both. This summer it's too expensive. So I said, oh, I'll do horses. So
Okay.
I never, but I taught myself front flip, back flip, aerials. I had to
Wow.
do as many back handsprings as I was old. So 14,
Wow.
and then 15, and then 16 in a row, right? Well, anyways, that's what the gymnastic skills I had. I did not know how to do a cartwheel.
Okay.
Okay, that's funny. You know how to do a backhand
I could
spring, but
do-
not do a cartwheel?
Right.
Wow.
So how did you learn? How did you acquire those skills?
Off the trampoline. I figured if I could do it on the trampoline, I could do it on the ground.
Okay.
Okay.
And so I lived out in the country. We didn't have gymnastic studios anywhere. And so we had carpet grass, you know, the carpet grass that has, it draws, we sprigged our carpet grass. I mean, I don't know if y'all know what that means, but it takes a lot of effort to sprig a lawn of grass. Well, anyways, that was a grass I taught myself on.
Wow.
And I used to tell my mom, hey, come outside, I'm gonna do some gymnastics. And I'm sure my mom's out there biting her nails secretly, like waiting for me to fall and hurt myself or break my head or whatever. And I would just get out there after dinner or before dinner or whatever and play around in the sunset and learn how to do
How
it.
did you pull together your first routine for your first competition?
Well, finishing out you kind of came through with the first Muscle and Fitness.
Right.
And the first competition was 91. I got that VHS tape and decided I wanted to do a competition. I found out, on the end of the tape it says these are the upcoming competitions. There was one in 1991 in Arizona, here in Arizona.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, that's.
It's kind of funny. I'm back in Arizona telling
Yes.
the story, but I decided I'm in September, I'm going to do this competition. I don't know what to expect, but I'm going to just see what I can figure out. I had a guy at the gym who taught me a weird little aerobic type routine, which I have no idea what I did on stage because I don't know. I wasn't a dancer. I was a track athlete, and I didn't know gymnastics off of my carpet grass. So it was, he was trying to teach me to do the Roger Rabbit and all these kind of dance movements that I didn't know how to do. So I don't know my routine, but I ended up coming here to Arizona and competed in the fitness, it was a Fitness USA competition. I won, but there were only 2 girls, me and one other girl, and I should have won anyways, just by physique and all that. And my mom flew with me, and I remember the night before doing 500 sit-ups. Because I thought that's what I had to do.
Okay,
no one told me
really?
different. I just wanted my abs were on, and I was like,
You
I'm
look
gonna,
great,
I
yeah.
did sets of 100, and then took a little break, set of 100, and I thought I needed to do that the night before. Like it would make a difference, but anyways.
Considering the longevity of your career, I take it that you really enjoyed being for the first time on stage, right?
I did, but it was it was enjoyable, but I think what it was too was the fact that show enabled me to go into a national level show already because I won. And I didn't feel ready for that.
see.
Well, I didn't know this, but I ended up getting invited to the national fitness competition that same year. And I went to that. It was in Vegas. I came in 9th out of 35. I remember I had the most horrendous migraine that night on the stage because I didn't know how to eat and I was dehydrated.
Oh,
and all,
yeah.
Of course, we're starving
and
ourselves
I
or
was on
something.
stage feeling like I was going to pass out but I ended up getting through my routine. I came in 9th. Steve Winterstrom has pictures
Right.
of me from that competition.
Yeah, because we were talking about Steve Winterstrom and Ralph DeHaan. And
So I didn't know Steve at the time, but move forward, 15 years or whatever, he started going through all those old pictures. He's like, Monica Brant's in this picture. So kind of fun, old little side note. But
yeah.
so that was my first kind of competition, and I was just kind of playing around with it. I didn't know that you could have any kind of career out of it. And I was going to school in Texas. I was working. I was a Budweiser girl model, and I was going to school part-time, and I was given riding lessons, and I started dabbling a little bit along the way with trying to help people in the gym, because people always ask me how to do something. So it's just kind of doing all these things.
If you were to pinpoint, what is that element that actually turned this into a career? What was it? When you were discovered as a model, a competition that you won, or what would that be?
Well, my mom got me in a modeling class when I was 14 from the hair, because you mentioned about modeling, right? So there was a hair salon my mom went to. We lived out in the country, and she met this beautiful woman who was teaching a modeling class, and it was like a 6-week, you came in once a week, and she put you through a modeling class. So I did that, and it was for fashion and all that, and I was not really a fashion girl, but I learned about walking and presenting myself at 14.
I see.
Makeup,
Okay.
they had makeup lessons. So this is back in 1984, 83, 84.
Okay.
And then they had a professional photo shoot, which I still have the images from. And, you know, I learned about, you know, posing in front of a camera, playing black backdrop and all that. So that was my first experience with real photography. So I kind of did some of that stuff, and then I got involved with an agency in San Antonio that really didn't know how to use me, because there at the time, muscle was not in at all.
Right,
so
not
you
in
had
at
to
all.
be super skinny, you know, bikini girl or Hispanic, because I was in Texas, right? Like San Antonio, it's very Hispanic, so that was kind of the look.
But
they
you
were
have
looking for.
you have the genetics. You and your mom have the
Right. So,
nice
but
structured.
I didn't fit what their criteria. So the modeling
That's
thing
right.
was kind of hit and miss. I got a couple little things, but nothing major. So then I ended up dating a bodybuilder.
Okay.
A very, you know, loosely I'll say, just because he lived in Arizona and I'd see him once in a while. And I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. Nothing. I was still just a little bit of fitness. I didn't really follow the magazines, nothing. And he ended up doing the nationals
The nationals
in Tijuana in 1993.
Tijuana. Wow.
And my girlfriend came with me because he invited me to come and watch and be there. So I asked my girlfriend to fly with me, and we went out to Tijuana, and I went to the show with him, and she was with me and all that. He was in the super heavyweight. He didn't. I think he came in like 8th or 9th. But what he did is he introduced me to John Perillo.
Yes, John Perillo. That was the
Perillo,
name we talked about
Performance.
earlier. I
Right,
started with
Perillo
John Perillo.
Performance.
Perillo Performance.
His MCT oil and all that.
That's right.
So my boyfriend at the time introduced me to John Perillo. Well, John was like, you need to meet these guys. And he took me over to Ralph DeHaan, who was a contracted muscle and fitness photographer.
That's right.
And Steve Wonderstrom was historian for women's. And they
So
kind
that's
of,
where it started.
And so you did a
Yes.
photo
You got
shoot
scouted
with
pretty
them.
much, right?
I guess
As a
so,
model.
right?
Yeah.
She was in the right
I
place at the right time.
I just turned 23, and I remember the outfit I even wore. You know, sometimes those moments when something really awesome happened, and you can look back and say, this is what I was wearing, and you remember but there's some things that you go through in life and you don't remember anything about it. You're like, I don't
and
even
so
know what-
you landed the cover, and it was just you?
No, not
just
that
on-
not that
that
time.
wasn't-
But you know who I was on the cover with?
Who?
Dennis Newman.
Ah,
He had just
Oh, I remember that
So he
cover.
just won the
Yeah.
USA's,
Yes.
and I was on the front, and he was hanging on my shoulder.
Yeah. Oh, that one. Now that's nice.
Oh.
He was hanging on your shoulder instead of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is when you look back, you're like, he had just won the USA's. He was signed with Weider. He was the golden child, winning everything. He already had a Weider contract, and I was nobody really. And I'd come in to do a competition. I already shot with Ralph one time. That was a little funny story I was telling you about. I'd come into LA, and then with a bunch of girlfriends, and I went down and met with Ralph, and I did a photo shoot with him, just the test shoot back then. And I had no idea what it meant for that he was a contracted Weider photographer.
Yeah, big thing.
I didn't know anything about that. I did my own hair and makeup. I had my own outfits, and we just did a test shoot. And from there, he said, if you ever come back to town, let me know. We'll shoot again. I said, all right. So a few months go by. I decided I had to compete again. June '94, I compete in Venice at the Venice High School.
Okay.
I ended up
competed in the Venice High School.
at the Fitness USA.
Okay.
I ended up winning the show, which was fun. I won the show, and I had set up a shoot again with Ralph in San Diego again. So I go down again. My girlfriend's with me because I don't shoot. I don't go to a photographer's house by myself and all that. Even back then, you knew.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't do that. So I'm down shooting with Ralph again, and we do the photos. I'm supposed to leave the next day, and he says, why don't you stay one more day? He says, I'm shooting Dennis Newman tomorrow, and he says, I think it'd be fun to shoot you guys together. And I'm like, who's Dennis Newman? I didn't know because I wasn't in the industry. I was just kind of playing around on the outskirts of it, and there wasn't really a fitness industry. It was just bodybuilding. anyways, I said, well, my girlfriend and I are like, well, I guess maybe we'll, back then you could switch your flights, no big deal. Switch. So we stayed another day, and the next day we show up to the studio. He was already shooting Dennis Newman. Dennis Newman was beautiful, right?
Yes, very handsome.
I was just Clark Kent, like, what am I shooting? Like, my girlfriend and I,
so the next thing you know,
23 years old, we show up and there's beautiful bodybuilders there.
And you're on the cover.
It wasn't
you didn't
cover.
know.
I
you
didn't
didn't know. Right,
he just says,
but it turned into
here, go
that.
stand over here by Dennis, and the different poses and all that. My girlfriend and I did my own hair and makeup and all that, and then the shoot was over and we left, and that was all I knew.
And so that was June of 94. And then you go and you compete.
Well, hang on, let me finish that story really fast. Around August of 94, I get a call. I'm back in Texas. I get that call I see my blinking light on my recorder, and I go hit the recorder button, like, okay, what's the message? And it's Ralph DeHaan. Hey, congratulations, cover girl. And I was
wow.
like,
you did the photos, but you didn't know.
I didn't know, and I had no idea it was for cover, that it would
cover
even
of
be
Muscle and
looked
Fitness,
at
and that
for
was
cover.
really huge.
I didn't even know.
So that was huge. So that means that he took that
beautiful
took the photos to Joe Weeder,
and
Joe Weeder fell in love.
And he put me front and center, and Dennis hanging on my shoulder.
Wow.
Talking about Joe Weeder, at which point in your career did you meet him?
Joe?
Yes. So this is 94, right? Was it sooner or later after that?
94, the cover comes out, and then 95, I do the big National Fitness USAs, which is a whole nother story because I introduced myself to Jantana, and Jantana brought me in.
Yes.
I was a model for her. I was the Jantana girl in all the magazines. So now I have that going on, and I have my one cover of Muscle and Fitness. I ended up moving to California. Wow. I knew two people
and so
very
you moved
lightly.
to California.
Yeah.
You moved to California.
But you were not a Weeder athlete yet at that point.
No, and I'll tell you a little story about that. But I don't know exactly when I met Joe. I can't remember because I ended up, I did so much in 95. When I moved in April of 95. I flew my first week here. I flew to work with Jantana in Jamaica. And then I came back and I started preparing for her first fitness competition, which was an invite only.
Yes.
So I started preparing for that. That was in July. I had to get a new choreographer. I learned dance, all of this stuff. And then Jan had that crazy fitness round. You had to do push-ups for a minute, sit-ups for a minute, VersaClimber for a minute. So I was training for that. July comes 95. I win that show. I get invited to the first Fitness Olympia. In between Jan's show and the Olympia, which is later in the year, I go and film Kiana Tom's Flex Appeal in Hawaii.
Okay, yes, right. Yeah. Flex Appeal. You guys remember Flex Appeal on ESPN. Yes.
So I filmed that, and then I come back, and now I'm supposed to get ready for the Olympia. I was exhausted.
Oh, yeah,
Moved,
of course.
I had competed in February at the big national show, top 10, moved to LA, all these other little trips, compete in July, Hawaii for almost 3 weeks with Flex Appeal, and then I'm supposed to get ready for Olympia. So my first Fitness Olympia in 95 was pretty worn out.
Because it almost looks like it's two careers at the same time. You have the athlete career, and then the extensiveness of your modeling career is overwhelming.
It was. And then it was, as soon as I went through all of that, it was like I was getting asked over and over and over, come do this appearance, come do this, because no one knew what fitness was. So I started traveling all around the country, because then I got Muscle Mag cover and all these other covers started coming out, Ironman and all these things. So
it's a lot of work, and I don't think people realize, they go to the gym and they're training, they're preparing for a show, and then be careful for what you wish for, and then you get it, you get this cover, and the next thing you know, you're traveling and having to stay in shape consistently, which you still have done that.
Thank you.
Very consistent. That's amazing. You look amazing.
Thank you.
And you did get your first Fitness Olympia title in 98,
98, right?
What made you switch? Because I know that you switched to figure after that, right?
Well,
why did you switch between the divisions?
One thing that I dealt with was trying to advance my gymnastics enough. Mind you, I remember I was self-taught to compete with the women that were coming into fitness that had this giant gymnastics background. Yeah. Right? We had.
Was that Carol Sample? I'm not sure.
Carol and Mia, Dale Tomedia, Susie Curry, all of them had backgrounds.
Extensive gymnastic backgrounds, and so I do understand.
So I got involved with the gymnastics coach, which was awesome. It was fun, and I learned a lot. And he was so funny because he would want me to do something, and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And he's like, you can do this, but like you said, you can do these things, but not that. So I learned a lot, and I worked through all of that. I used to do gymnastics 3 times a week, and then I was running with a conditioning coach on the track, and training in the gym, and then traveling.
Yeah.
All of the appearances. So, and after, I'll just say, there's so many interesting little fun stories. You had asked about Joe Weider. I have a cool story about him, which may not be time for right now. But in '99, I went to do the Olympia, and mind you, I was the returning champ, right?
Yeah, returning champ.
And up to that point, '99 was the first year in Vegas.
Okay, first year for the show being in Vegas.
I've been going to Vegas for years, but first show for the Olympia to be in Vegas, Mandalay Bay and all that.
That's right.
Yep. I went there, and I'm not going to blame anyone, but I sabotaged myself. I literally have probably told 2 people my whole life about this.
Okay.
Because, you don't know things, right? And I don't know why I'm crying, but
that's okay. Yeah. It's perfect. It's good.
I say I sabotaged myself because, and y'all know this better than anybody, but when you're in a certain place with your body and you put anything in it that shouldn't be in it, it can ruin you for just the hours you need.
That's right.
Yeah. Right? So I was dating someone who I was madly in love with, and he was a great guy, all the things, but he kind of was not wanting to be around. And so he came and was there, and then he took off, and he says, I'll just let you do it. And I guess, I don't know why I say that, but except that sometimes, I was younger, I was in my 20s, you allow things to affect you, which nowadays, it would not affect me now.
It wouldn't even affect you.
Nowadays, I would whatever, I don't need that, or you're not there, or whatever. Especially when you're at this level. So it's the night before the Olympia. I'm in great shape. I look right like I need to look, all the things, and I end up eating too much peanut butter. And it's a simple thing.
I know, but it's huge. I get it.
The next morning I wake up and I look really good, right?
Yeah.
But hours down, a few hours later, getting on stage, I'm soft and watery, and then I see it, and I'm inside just.
So was he a competitor?
No,
he was not a competitor. No. Was he jealous of?
No,
I mean, you had a lot of success going on.
I don't want to talk about and dwell on him. I say that because I know that was the trigger of why
it was a trigger.
And I went to take a teaspoon or whatever it was, and then I ended up eating more. And so as I look back, I'm like, I know I sabotaged. And then you have the cortisol levels and the stress and knowing. I ended up placing 4th that year. But by the night show, I was kind of, looking how I should look again because of all the routines. Yeah. Right? But that morning for physique, I was way off.
So is this episode what actually triggered you?
So this is what made me not want to do fitness anymore, I think is... Mind you, that was 15 years, basically. Okay. I started in 91. Well, not 15, sorry. I started in 91. This is 99. So I just kind of was like... I was a little worn out from the gymnastics and I
definitely takes a toll on your body.
Yeah, and I just kind of was burnt out on trying to keep up with that gymnastics thing. And then that happened, and I was trying to do some stuff and I was working, and I was under contracts, and no one was saying you have to compete, which I never would sign anyways. So I just kind of laid low, and then Jim Lorimer calls me in 2003 and invites me, well, he calls me in 2002, and he invites me to the first Figure International. Right. And how do I say no to Jim Lorimer?
Right.
Yeah. He called me personally. I remember driving, and I answered my phone, because you could back then, technically. And he says, hi, Monica Brant, this is Jim Lorimer. I've got a question for you, kind of thing. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So I was on the stage then the next Arnold.
So what was your first impression of it? Did you like it more than fitness?
Honestly, no, because I am an athlete.
Okay.
Just the fitness routine was not, it was just, I don't know, I guess I am an athlete, and I like that training for something to be competitive and athletic in.
And you are an entertainer at the same time through your routine, right?
But I'm not an entertainer, mind you. I'm a track runner, water ski, horseback riding show, you don't smile and stare at people and try to entertain them. You just compete. So learning all of those skills, like my choreographer for years, point, spot, and smile. Point, spot, smile. Point your toes, spot your turns, and smile.
Yeah.
She yelled and yelled and yelled. I'll never forget.
And it does make, I mean, I think.
I had to learn that trick.
Yeah.
And I think it does. I mean, as an athlete, you feel like you have more control. Like, instead of it being just solely about, like with bikini or figure, right? You do have more control, and we know this as bodybuilders because we're judged. We're used to being judged on our physique. Yes, other things it matters, but you're an athlete and they respect you as an athlete. And I'm not saying that they don't respect the bikini competitors as athletes, but when you're an athlete, you do know and you have more control. So I do get that.
Did you have the full body suit round as well?
Oh yeah.
At that time, right?
So
in figure as well.
Apparently in 98 we had 2 physique rounds and 2 routine rounds. For the Olympia. 2
physique rounds.
2 physique, 1
2
piece, 2
physique
piece.
So
rounds.
how were they 2? Like what was
A
the
1
difference?
piece and a 2 piece.
That's right.
Okay, that's
And the
right.
2 piece no heels and the 1 piece heels.
Oh,
What?
That's interesting.
Okay, wait a minute.
And then we
No heels in the.
no heels in the 2 piece, heels in the 1 piece.
Oh yeah, because they
Amazing.
wanted to observe the proportions of your upper to
Probably.
the lower body.
And then we had 98 Olympia was the first year they implemented the 45-second routine, which stemmed from Jan Tana when she had the one, because Jan Tana had 3 rounds. She had routine, physique, and the fitness. So we did the push-ups, the sit-ups, and I trained for months to do push-ups for a minute. Have you ever done like full speed? I got 62 in a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, I won that round.
Yeah.
And then the verse climber. Well, then they tried, the Olympia or the IFBB started doing, okay, we're going to do a fitness round, but we're going to change it up. So they had, then they had the Versa climber only for 2 minutes.
I remember the Versa climber.
And people were dying from that because they weren't prepared for it. They're on whatever they're on, and people were passing out. Some people went to the hospital. So they took that out. They put it down to a minute, and of course that's me.
That's why, guys, she's a pioneer. Let me tell you, she's telling you the story, okay,
And then
what
it went
it's
to the
like
rower,
today, and you
the
laid
rower.
the foundation.
Yeah.
Wow.
They went to the rower
I
for a
remember
minute.
that. I almost forgot about that. The climber.
And I used to tell them, I said, look, take us to a track. Everyone can train on a track. No matter where you are in the world, you can go run and you can do a sprint. And they would be like, oh, no one's going to come watch you on a track. And I'm like, well, everyone's complaining about all the devices that you're putting on the stage. So what do? They take out all the device machines, because the rower, the Versa climber, you know what they do is they give us another routine round with mandatory movements, 6 mandatory movements.
Wow.
Full splits. Full splits. Are you kidding me? Gymnasts do that. I ended up being
Wait a minute, you talking about the Chinese? Like straight out this way, not that?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Full
Ooh,
splits.
I know what
high
she's talking
kicks,
about.
One-arm push-ups. There were 6 things. And I got the information for the 1998 Olympia a month before the competition. So now I have to go put a second routine together. And it was supposed to be 45 seconds and under, the black cat suit. And Perfetto made my cat suit for me. It was perfect. Remember Perfetto?
I remember that black, all one-piece suit that you had to wear.
You know what's so cool is I ended up winning that round at the Olympia that year because my routine was so simple. I went from one thing to the next. It was literally 40 seconds. And you could just see my movements. And I had a nice transition between, of course, I had a standing back tuck, which wasn't part. But that's what happened. And then everyone started making that 45-second routine, like all this elaborate stuff. And like now you're like, what's the difference from that to the full routine? Like it made no sense. And you have people judging these mandatory movements, which I faked my full split and it looked real.
Oh, wow. Oh, I don't know how you could fake that.
So then,
I never
that
could
really
do that
real?
one. That was amazing. Yeah, but you know what? Despite all of that, very successful in fitness. You won the Fitness Olympia. Then you go on to figure. And what I remember most is your first time. I always remember second place, and then you placed third, and then you placed third on your third attempt. And I mean, for me, that was amazing to make that transition and to go in that. So I want to come back. And we want to go into you as competing in the figure and what it felt like to be second, third when we come back.
Sounds good.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
And so, Monica, just thinking about this, I think in regards to, you may be the first professional IFBB athlete that actually transitioned or moved over to a different division. I think you may be the first. I don't know of any competitor prior to you that won the Olympia Fitness and then made the decision to transition into Olympia Figure. I think you're the first.
I believe I am.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So had great success. And like I said, I often, when I think of Monica Brant, I remember you placing second and then third, and there was people, you were the uncrowned Miss Olympia Figure. I had to even look up to see who won. And it was always this fight between, I know Davina Medina, she won, and it was always like first and second, Jenny Lynn and all that. And then finally Jenny Lynn, she wins it in 2006. So tell us a little bit about that and what that felt like, and then you made a transition and made a decision to go to Europe and compete, where you took a first place in 2010. Believe?
Well, that was actually 2016.
2016.
I competed, in Canada and then here in 2010, 2013 in different organizations.
So tell us about that journey of second, and because that's
you know what. I am a learner at heart. I'm an athlete and I'm a learner. So I love to learn things. And I learned about that part of my life later in life. And I never realized, growing up that was something who I am. So I like to learn about athletics. I like to learn about health. I like to learn about people. I'm a relationship type person, and so I love to learn about people and get to know people. Sometimes that's a downfall, and sometimes that's great. So all of those competitions leading, all of my competitions, I felt like they were all this journey about just learning about what I was doing. And what I understood over time was that those competitions did not define me. My placement did not define me. As an athlete, when you are judged, or not judged, but you either jump the highest or you run the fastest or you run the slowest. There's a time, there's an official time. It has nothing to do with how you look, or it's just like you either did it, you're good, or you're not. And as an athlete, you could PR in something of your sport, whatever your personal best is, and that could be like you've just won, because you're like when I ran track, when I ran a 26:02 and I came in second in the world that year with the Masters track, I felt like I won because I had never run a 26:02 200-meter run. So I was like, wow, that was amazing, for me. So I was on. That was second place for me, right? But when you go to, this industry where it's so subjective, everything, and I remember hearing, the first Figure International in the magazine, they talked to one of the judges, I won't say names, who said that I didn't win because of the shoes I chose to wear did not suit well on me. And I'm like, the shoes? They were platform shoes. How many women wear platform shoes on stage?
I think that's this thing now, right?
So anyways, it's what I understood is that those shows all the way, no matter what show I did, what place I did, I used all of them to help build my career. And also to also bless others coming into the sport that maybe have look at the shows and winning as such a big have to have, and if they don't win, they're devastated. I'm like, it's a placement. Now, use that show, use it to do something else, use it to build a business or build something. So I did a lot of...
Good point.
It was absolutely, it was a blessing because obviously we don't come to those realizations until you do not win. Because if you always win and you're the hot one, you don't know how it is.
Well, then it's devastating when you
what
lose.
do you do with when you don't win? And then you turn it into something positive like you do, right? That doesn't define you, and then you keep on moving and exploit these moments for your benefit, right? For your business, right?
Yeah, so I never dreamed that I was going to win in '98. That was a complete surprise to me.
Wasn't that the best win ever?
It was awesome. The only thing that I'm sad about is I think I was telling you is I don't have one Olympia picture from that when I have my medal with there's no Olympia banner, there's no Olympia backstage.
Yeah.
It was man-made stage that they built that day, and it was a horrible stage, and you could see the ring at the top with the little cheap banner behind. And I'm like, I want my picture on an Olympia image. So
yes,
I'm hoping to get that someday.
Yeah, we can Photoshop that. We can fix that today.
You know, one of the things that I used in my careers, I had so many women asking me about how to do this and how to do that. So I ended up with a friend creating the Fem Camp. It was the original women's fitness event. It was a 3-day fitness event. We hosted those for almost 14 years. And I started those in 2004 in Canada, actually, and then 2005 was the first year in LA. And so I had those all around the country, all over Canada. I was gone to a few other countries where we hosted this women's event.
So when did you retire, and what made you retire?
Well, I've never used that word.
Okay, so you might be coming back?
I don't know. You know, here's the thing is I got out of IFBB because honestly, I was there for 15 years and my placings just kept getting worse. And I felt like they don't really want me on stage. I say that. They weren't placing me, so why would I keep competing? Second and third, fine, but at this point, you're talking about we're losing money because there's no money after, there's second and third was like, $3,000 or $4,000. So it's really, so at the end, after 15 years, I'm like, I'm just kind of burnt on, and I need something for me, right? And I had nothing, it was just, if I'm going to continue to get on stage, I need to do something for me that made me feel good about what I'm doing and the time I'm spending. You got to have that ROI. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
So I ended up leaving IFBB and went to another organization that I wanted to try. So 2010, and the crazy thing is I was walking through a horrible separation from a very crazy husband.
Okay.
So I was I was turning 40 that year.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was like this crazy year. I have to leave and get a protective order against my ex.
Wow.
I'm traveling to Australia for Fem Camps for 3 weeks. I had no money. My husband took all the money out of our account, and then I changed the organization. And then I went and got ready for that. I ended up going to Canada for a few weeks to get away and train up there with a coach up there and just like clear my mind. And I ended up winning that show in 2010. So I hadn't won a show in 12 years. That felt good.
Yeah,
you guys can understand.
Absolutely.
It felt good, and I was in one of the best conditions I had ever been in for a show. So I did that, and then 2013, I was getting ready I was doing track. I was competing in track.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so
you're
I competed
amazing.
again.
You competed in track and field after.
I have her. You're in the 100. You did 12.6. 200 meters, 26.0. 400 meters, 59. Now I ran track, so I I understand. Like 100 meters, 12. That's fast. And when I think about it in like 2012 and 2013, going around the track one time at 59 seconds, that's like less than a minute.
That makes my butterflies in my stomach.
So I get it, and I was like looking at this thinking, how, to be physical like that and to accomplish.
I was 43.
Yeah, those are some amazing.
That's a whole other fun story because I literally hadn't raced in track for 25 years, and I was able to pull that out.
That's amazing. I don't think people realize
You're obviously a competitor at heart.
Yes,
you just wanted to get that
I want to say athlete.
Go after this. Yes,
I say athlete.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a whole test that you can do on the Gallup Strength Finder test. And competition or competitor is a strength. And everyone, when I took this test, I was in a leadership organization for a little while, and they had us do this test, and you get your top 30 strengths of your personality, right?
Yeah.
I took the test, and competitor, everyone's like, oh, competitor's gonna be your top 5. Competitor was like almost 20 for me out of 30 strengths.
Wow.
So
that's great.
My number 1 was learner. Learner. And so I really feel like that has something to do with who I am, is about learning the task, the trait, the process, and then because I'm a relationship people, I want to share. I want to tell everyone about it.
Yeah.
The people that want to hear anyways.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to tell people that don't care. You know. And you know those people that come up and they're like, how do you get abs? I'm like, and you're like,
right.
And they're just, they really aren't going to do, they're not going to do anything. You know, they're just wasting air. And I'm like, go sprint.
Right.
That's right.
You'll get abs if you sprint.
Yes.
So Monica, bring us up to date. What are you doing these days? What's Monica Brant about today?
Okay. So that ex got out of that horrible relationship. So that was gone. But that all happened right around the time social media was coming out. And I just kind of excluded myself from some things and kind of had to break away from everything for a little while. But I am at this point remarried to a wonderful man. He's delightful. He's wonderful. He's good to me. He loves me. And we have a great relationship. He's a strong, godly man and leads me well. He is a horse trainer.
Well said. Oh.
He's one of the top elite AQHA all-around horse trainers for the world.
Wow.
And so I get to dive back into my horse passion.
Right, your background, where you started with your mom.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've been riding all my whole life, and so now I get to participate in his business. I lost my horse in 2017. He got sick and we couldn't keep him alive. So I don't own my own horse at this moment. But we have wonderful clients, beautiful horses, and I get to ride and help exercise and do some coaching on all the little kids that come in. I'm really good with teaching young kids. So I get to do that, and that's a big fun place for me to be, and I get to spend the time with my husband. And then we do a lot of traveling with that as well, with the horse shows. He calls it the carny shows, because it's like a carnival, always going to a different place. Fitness was the same. So I'm doing that with him. I still do what I consider lifestyle coaching. So I work with women on nutrition development for their health, developing some programs for them. I don't really advertise myself real big on this because I don't want to have a ton of clients.
Yeah, I understand.
And then the other part of that is, since my faith, I feel like I have some spiritual development, and that always seems to come in. A lot of women want to know about that piece too. So do some lifestyle coaching. I do some personal training. I do some online body weight sessions right now because of COVID happened, and I started doing that last year. And then I'm working with a wonderful friend and business partner on her self-published magazine called Bodyscape magazine, and we do some photo shoot pieces or events together. We call them epic destination shoots. So we have this big, beautiful production that women can come and get photos done, and then she publishes this magazine, and I've been involved with this.
And you're on the cover.
Yep, that was 2020.
Beautiful on Bodyscape.
Thank you.
Yeah, associate editor.
Yeah, so we
beautiful.
We work together a few times a year on this project, and it's been fun to get to know, because working behind the scenes and helping other people have this kind of thing is such a joy.
Yes.
I mean, I love doing this and being that, but it's so fun to give back and to help because of all the experience now at 50 and a half.
Yes.
I mean, if I started modeling photo shoots at 14, it's a long time to be having a lot of experience. So,
well, Linda, what a beautiful and rich career, I have to say.
Yeah, it's a beautiful and rich career, and I think it's just, the fact that your journey, you're still here. A lot of the women that competed with us during the 80s and the 90s, and this is 2021, and you're still here looking fabulous.
Thank you.
And still active, and so, again.
The only other thing I wanted to say, and I had you on my show, but I started the Monica Brant talk show in April of 2020. And I really just wanted to do something where I could connect with the people that were instrumental in starting this business for people, like the legendary athletes, the powerhouse gurus of the industry, the publishing people, the photographers, people that have established the industry that we all know and love. And there's a lot of history there that people don't realize, right?
Yes.
And so that was, and I've just done one a week, and it's been really fun to reconnect, especially over COVID when people weren't able to travel as much, and you couldn't, so you just started connecting. So that was really fun and different for me, because normally I'm being interviewed and now I'm interviewing.
It's different,
which
right?
is different, but it's really
we
fun.
really thank you so much for coming out and joining us on FemFlex Friday. All of our women out there that love us and now they know your story. It's just great. So thanks again,
Thank
guys,
you so much.
and Monica Brant, champion.
Aw, thank you.